Hello and welcome to episode 69 of the Green Arrow and FPL podcast by Fantasy Football Hub with Game Week 1 done and dusted. And what a weekend it was. My name is Fergi, and with Adam Hopcroft on holiday, we are delighted that Fantasy Football Hub contributor and the main man, Abdul Rehman, aka FPL Salah, is joining me this week. Abdul, absolutely brilliant to have you on again. What a Game Week 1 we just had.
Yeah, no, it was a mad one, wasn't it? Really high scoring. I think just about everyone done well this week, didn't they? Really, especially like the guys on Twitter.
Yeah, it was. It was a bit of a mental one. And what I really enjoyed about the game week was the 3 p.m. games for one, which was just amazing to have that. You know, the whole clean sheet gone in the 5th minute, but it didn't matter because you had other players playing other games and goals going everywhere and stuff, and predictable scores as well was no more hopeful. Hopefully 7-2s or 6-2s, whoever else. And as you mentioned, the high FPL scores. I mean, I think the overall average was something like 50 or 60 points, but the overall average in the FPL community seemed to be roughly 100. How did you find it? From like a footballing sort of weekend, Abdul? Did you enjoy the football and did FPL kind of enhance it, or were you just focused on just FPL?
I mean, I honestly really enjoyed this weekend, especially because, as you said, like the 3 p.m. games are just good to have that kind of bit of normality back, and that kind of buzz where you don't always get to watch the games. Sometimes when you're out and about and you're checking the scores, and then you check your phone and like one of your players scores, and it's just that feeling you get, and it was good to have that normality back, and I was just buzzing for it. And I remember because I had a double Brighton defence, and I got busted in the first minute. Honestly, it didn't even bother me, because I just thought I'm just glad to have FPL back to normal. And anyway, it's not always painful losing it in the first minute than it's the 9th minute anyway. But yeah, I was just glad to have it back.
It was awesome. It was a very jubilant weekend all around. You don't have many weekends like that. You're watching football. So for any new watchers and listeners, you are very, very welcome. If you haven't subscribed just yet, please press the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and set the alerts. You don't miss our live streams, which are 7 p.m. BST every Tuesday evening right here on this channel. Also, please press the like button if you enjoy our content. As we are live, please feel free to join in the chat at any time. Let us know your thoughts on the topics of the relevant sections, and feel free to ask some questions throughout. Absolutely packed lobby. Amazing to have you all with us. Good evening, Ross Johnson, Vasanthan, FPL Geordie, Footy, Owen Johnson, Hassan Joy, Jerome Robinson, I'm 1974, loads more. Let us know your scores from this week. We'd love to know what the highest score was. The highest one so far I can see in the chat, Sanjay Patel scored 111. Let us know if anyone scored higher than that. Absolutely amazing to have such a great weekend that we just had. So this week, we're going to take a look at some of the takeaways from Game Week 1, including players who caught our eye, and ask the question, what next? Because it's not very often that we find ourselves in FPL having a good game week, having a good team moving forward, having good captains in place, the sun is shining, and wherever else can go right, everything has gone right. It's very, very hard to kind of sit on our hands and just be right. It's almost like, what do we do? For a lot of FPL managers. We will also answer some Twitter questions. We'll look at the best captain options for Game Week 2 and run through our teams and plans for the coming game week before finishing off with our weekly competition and taking a look at the top of the Green Arrow Mini League. So, Abdul, got your team now on screen. Really good score of 96. You just want to run us through your team and how you think it fared?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I had a double Brighton defence, which obviously didn't get off to the best start. But obviously I had Trent in there, and also Shaw. I mean, I think they were so highly owned, probably didn't really matter, what they got. Midfield, obviously Salah, captain Bruno, Rafinha, who didn't do as well as expected. I mean, I know it was a tough fixture, but I did think Leeds would probably grab a few goals in that, but wasn't to be. Jota was the kind of really happy with that. I mean, especially as more relieved than happy.
Yeah.
Because he came off in the 60th minute. I mean, that was a position I was really kind of oohing and ahhing over. I had Gundogan in there. I had, like many players in there at one point, but I took the risk on Jota. Then I've got Ings, Tony, and Antonio up front. So Antonio over the moon with his haul.
Performance on it.
And Ings again, really fortunate with that 97th minute penalty, I think it was. But I'm happy with them going forward as well because they've got a great fixture in Game Week 2. But yeah, I think it was a good Game Week. I think it was. I mean, 96 is a great score, but I think kind of on the grand scheme of things, it was probably just an above average score because a lot of guys were hitting their hundreds this week as well.
Jota made it, I saw, to 60 minutes and 7 seconds, and I didn't own Jota. So as he was walking off really slowly, I was like, where's the line? Where's the line? He kind of took the long way off, didn't he? But that got you a couple of extra points there, maybe. You know, that spot was really key, wasn't it, for lots and lots of people. Everyone was talking about Gundogan, Benrahma, Greenwood, Harvey Barnes, and some of them did really well and are looking good moving forward, and some not so much. Just on Jota, do you think he starts against Burnley on the weekend?
I think he does, yeah. I mean, Firmino coming on and scoring was a bit annoying, to be quite honest. But it kind of just muddies the waters a bit more. But I think he does. I think he does start. He scored. He played well. I mean, we can never be sure, but I don't see any reason why Klopp, would drop him after a good performance. I think it's probably more the same. He'd probably start Jota and then do the same. Bring Firmino on after 60 minutes at some point. Okay. So yeah, I think he starts against Burnley.
And who do you think won out of Jota owners and Tsimikas owners? Because there was a bit of a battle on there of who's come out on top.
Yeah, well, it's a tough one because obviously Jota's got a 2-point advantage, but Tsimikas has got the price rise and he's only 4 million. I know. I'd say right now it's 1-1. I think.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I think it's quite. I think it's quite even at the moment. Robertson's back in training.
Saw that. Yeah.
Well, he's running. So yeah. So kind of, it'll be interesting to see where he is this weekend.
Indeed. Okay. So just looking then at my team, I scored bang on 100. I think it's only my second 100 score in like the past 3 or 4 seasons. I think I remember having one season about 4 years ago where I had about 3, I think, but ever since then I've had 99 a couple of times. I find it hard to come by, but yeah, it's just absolutely lovely to look. 87 after Saturday, and obviously Antonio's 13. So I went for Tsimikas over Jota, which it was a toughest call. But I went for Greenwood. And I'm really happy with Greenwood moving forward. I think he's going to start the next game or two. I think Rafinha is probably the only one I was disappointed. He had that massive chance at the end, didn't he? Yeah. If he'd have scored that, it would have been very, very different. And I tweeted out actually on Friday afternoon, I'm a bit stuck between Rafinha and Benrahma. And I went for Rafinha just because I'm thinking slightly longer term, because obviously Leeds fixtures from Game Week 5 onwards look really, really nice. But, more than happy overall, right, with 100. If you can't be happy with 100 in FPL, you shouldn't be playing FPL because we will have a lot worse weeks than this. That's for sure.
It's all downhill from here.
It is indeed. My son, who's 10, scored 117, which I was pretty disappointed about. And Adam, just so everyone knows, Adam scored 102, so Adam's got off to a really good start as well. I'm glad he's not here. Because he can't gloat over me, but decent start all round, I think. Okay, so now on screen we have a screen grab from our Opta-Stats tool at fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, sorted by teams' shots, and in this show it's really interesting actually. So sorted by shots in the box. Liverpool had 13 shots in the box, obviously a hell of a lot. Arsenal had 13, which was really, really surprising considering the scoreline. And they also had a game week high 22 shots against Brentford. So those who think Brentford are going to be watertight, that it probably indicates that they're not going to be. United had 12, West Ham had 12, Brighton actually had 12 as well, quite surprisingly, and Wolves. And I saw that Adama Traore specifically had 6 shots, didn't he? And he missed that. He missed that 1-on-1. So you got any early thoughts on him? I've always found Traore a bit of a frustrating hold. I've never really owned him at, kind of at the right time. Have you, Abdul?
Yeah, I mean, I've had him a few times, over I think the past 2 seasons, and he is a frustrating player because when you, I mean, he's so like kind of sweet in the eye test.
Yeah,
he
is.
He looks great going forward, but he just seems like he can't finish. I think he had 2 1-on-1s actually.
Oh, he had 2, did he?
Leicester and hitting straight at the keeper. But yeah, he's just one of those players. I mean, I think in other fantasy games, where they count dribbles and etc., he's a great player. But I think for FPL, he's quite an average asset just due to his finishing.
Yeah.
But he'll go through he goes through his patches, doesn't he? Really, but he goes through a 5-6 game run. So yeah, it's just hard pinpointing when that's going to be.
Just in that match as well, Harvey Barnes, I thought was surprisingly quiet. I thought, there was a lot of hype. He played really well in the Community Shield. The main reason I didn't go for Harvey Barnes is because when I watch him play, generally does tend to stay quite sort of left, and when someone is playing that position, I prefer him when they're, a bit more central, like someone like Jota, Greenwood, or even Rafinha at times. Vardy looked really sharp. He had six shots as well, and Pereira, I only just caught this afternoon actually the piece of skill he did to get his crossing was absolutely brilliant. Did anyone else stand out for you in that match at all? Anyone interesting you from an FPL view?
No, I think that match. I think Vardy had more shots in the box. Everyone in the game, I think he had 5 shots in the box. So yeah, he did look good. I don't think anybody really I think rules for FPL assets, there's not many FPL assets,
no.
That interest me for rules. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really consider Barnes much at all, pre-season. I know he had a great kind of into last season. Didn't really consider him. I think Vardy was probably the one that kind of impressed me the most. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Vardy as a starter, but I don't know. I think he might get. There is a chance he gets phased out later on in the season with Iheanacho and Daka as well. But yeah, I think Vardy was probably the most impressive one for me.
Okay, and on the bottom, just of this list, Spurs, I say only had 5 shots in the box. Villa surprisingly only had 4 shots in the box. Palace maybe less surprisingly only had 4. But all their shots were in the box, and Leeds only had 3 against Man United. You can probably ignore the last 2. Villa's were quite surprising. We both have Ings in our team, and Ings, to me anyway, just watching the highlights, looked absolutely anonymous. I barely noticed he was on the pitch all the game until he picked the penalty up. Is that a concern at all, or do you just think it's just one of those games where Watford would just bang up for it and they just smashed them?
Yeah, to be honest, in the pre-season, I did kind of have a feeling about Villa in terms of I thought Grealish is gone. They've got a few new signings, whether they're going to gel together. But I mean, their attacking talent is great. They've got Watkins, Ings, and then they've got Buendia, they've got McGinn. They've got a really good midfield, so I think they will come good eventually. I just think that was maybe an off game.
Yeah.
I think maybe. I mean, I'm hoping kind of click together against Newcastle because, yeah, you're right. Ings was anonymous. They had a little flurry in the second half where they scored a couple of goals. But, yeah, I mean, it's not... I mean, it wasn't kind of good viewing if you've got Villa assets. So, yeah, I mean, they definitely got the players there to kind of click. But when they click, it's kind of a bit of a... nobody really knows. But I think Newcastle is a great fixture for them because they were terrible in that first match, weren't they? I think they had 6 big chances conceded, which was the most in the league. They had I think it was 19 shots in the. I think it was a 19 shots in the box or something, was it?
Looks like 17 it was. 17
shots in the box, which was the most as well. So yeah, they were quite lucky not to actually concede more. So yeah, I think it's a good game for them to kind of bounce back.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely a hold. A hold. I think there. So I got the stat wrong. Then I was looking at the wrong table there. So on screen now, we've got the team sorted by XGC, which is tight defenses. And just as you mentioned, Newcastle's expected goals conceded was 3.8, which is nearly 4. Which if Ings, if he has a good day, can make hay against them. The second worst was Norwich, then Burnley. So it's interesting because I saw a stat earlier around. We'll talk captaincy later, but Salah's record against Burnley is not is not the best. I think he's had 1 goal and 1 assist in 4 games or something like that.
In 4 years and 7 games, I think.
Yeah. Oh, is it really in 4 years? And oh my goodness, wow.
Yeah.
And then Leeds and the Saints there as well. Spurs as well. I thought Spurs are very lucky. I'm a Spurs fan, and every Spurs against Man City match is always the same. Man City just miss chance after chance, and Spurs just managed to kind of nick it. But yeah, that Newcastle game is looking good, definitely for Ings. At the top, Chelsea, as you would expect, 0.2. Palace didn't really. I think Zaha had 1 half chance, which Rudiger blocked really well. City really tight. Wolves surprisingly quite tight against Leicester. I noticed you've got Hoiver, is it the 4 million in your?
Yeah, Hoiver. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah. In your team, is he just there literally as just a 4 million, or you
I mean,
playing him?
Yeah, so he's there as obviously as a 4 million fodder, but I was pleasantly surprised to see him start. I kind of thought, I don't really need him until game week 7, 8. So I thought if he plays and he kind of keeps the place, Wolves fixtures really pick up after game week 7, game week 8.
Yeah,
and it could kind of come in handy then. So so it was either going to be Amate, Hoover, or Tsimikas if I went for him, but. I thought because of Vestergaard going to Leicester, he was really kind of the only option left for me, really.
Yeah.
Got lucky with that one.
Okay, and looking at Chelsea, so obviously Lukaku is coming in. We've had a question in the chat actually about Lukaku. I think the manager said that he will likely play against Arsenal next weekend. Is he in your immediate thoughts, or is he a bit of a wait and see? He's hard to squeeze in for one, isn't he, with his price?
Yeah, I mean he's not really anywhere near my thoughts at the moment, to be honest. I think for me to get him, I'd have to get rid of one of Bruno or Salah, most likely Bruno. So yeah, I'm going to see how he fares. I don't know if he's actually going to play game week 2, but it's against Arsenal away. So although not the most difficult fixture, it's not the easiest either. So
that's right. I
think he's just a wait and see, really.
We've got. You got me. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, sorry. I think we've got Kane. Probably going to City as well. So yeah, there's a lot happening in the forwards, in the premium forwards just now. So.
And Chelsea's, their fixtures as well: Arsenal, Liverpool, Villa, Spurs, and Man City. The next 5. I think my argument in pre-season was you're never going to captain him in any of those games, are you? So it's probably it's very hard to get rid of. Bruno or Salah or Son, or whoever it is who's eating up all your funds when you're not going to get a captain. So yeah, he's a wait and see for me as well. No, Havertz would have been disappointing for a few. He was my pre-season tip, obviously before we knew Lukaku was going to sign, but he didn't start obviously. Rudiger's one who's interesting me because he just seems to just play every week. Rock solid. Do you think he could potentially be a set and forget option, basically for the season, kind of Ruben Dias-esque, or do you think it's a waste of a spot because he's a centre back?
No, I think he potentially could be. I mean, Chelsea's fixtures from game week 7 onwards. The defenders, midfielders, and forwards are all kind of worthy of consideration. So he's definitely worth a look. At the moment, though, there's just so many kind of good value options. At the moment, like you've got likes of Shaw, Dunk, Digne, Kufal, that you can't really justify getting them at the moment because of their fixtures. But definitely for game week 7 onwards, I think there's he could definitely be a good shout.
Agree. And on Spurs and Man City, I mean, Son, right? He just keeps doing it every season. It's like against all the odds. Adam always says, he's absolutely right. He's such an elite finisher. He doesn't get many chances, but he takes nearly all of them done here. You know what a finish he was. He even slipped. Lucas Moura was a player. I think he's probably a better player than he is an FPL asset. But I really like Lucas Moura. You know, I think he could have a part to play later in the season. Have you got any plans on Son? So we kind of heard earlier, we've got a question on it later and we'll answer it in a bit more depth, but there are kind of rumours, or maybe they're more than rumours, that Brazil and Egypt, which will obviously include players like Salah, Firmino, maybe Richarlison, and some others as well, Alisson, for example, if they go off and play their international games in their home country, because they're on the UK red list, it means that they would have to isolate for 10 days on their return, which means they could potentially miss game week 4 and potentially game week 5. Now with Son, I saw earlier a couple of people say Salah to Son in game week 3 is a no-brainer. Is Son in your mind at all, or are you just going to wait another week and see how it pans out?
Yeah, I mean, Son was one I really wanted game week 1, but I just couldn't kind of fit him in. And I had like a 4-4-2 draft as well, in which he was included. So he was very much in my thoughts, and I did think, I'm going to want him in my team sooner or later. So yeah, but yeah, the stuff here. I mean, the kind of international games that you're talking about. Yeah, they are a bit of a. I mean, I don't think we should worry about them yet, because from what I heard as well, I think now clubs can refuse players going as well because of COVID. So, I mean, I can't see, for example, Klopp letting Salah go if he's going to miss 2 game weeks. And
a Champions League match as well, by the way, because it starts straight after. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think in this situation, I think we're going to kind of cross that bridge when it comes to it.
Okay.
Because I don't really know what is really going to happen. But I mean, if Salah was to go, if the situation was to go, then it's a great move. Obviously, Salah's Son is an easy one, isn't it? Really,
it is in game week 3. Son would be, I think it's home to Watford, I want to say, yeah, and Salah would be, home to Chelsea. So you get that game. Yeah. You get game week 4, where Spurs have got Palace, and Salah is away to Leeds, and Bruno is a nice home captaincy in that game week anyway, home to Newcastle, and then potentially just do a reverse switch in game week 5 when Liverpool have then got Palace and Brentford. Obviously, it's booking in transfers is the thing. I don't like doing that, but we should have these things in mind when we're making plans, and this is one of the reasons why I'm saving my transfer this week, because there's a lot to sort out in there. So, just quickly on Rafinha, just before we move on. So we know he blanked. Do you think, in terms of players like Benrahma and other players like that, do you think because he blanked that people may be thinking about kind of moving on to Benrahma, so I'm sticking with Rafinha, right? He's in for me. He could be another one actually who's affected by this. Obviously, a Brazil call up, right? But he's in for me. Have you got any notions of letting him go before Leeds' good run in game week 5?
Well, no, definitely not. I mean, I have seen people kind of, on Twitter asking questions regarding Rafinha to Benrahma, and it's just one of those things. I think it's more of a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, definitely.
Rafinha's got a great fixture. I mean, United away, it's not an easy fixture. So I mean, for him to blank in that is not surprising at all. And to be honest, if you looked at Benrahma's stats, I think he had, I think it was like something 3 shots on target. 2 shots in the box and 1 big chance created. So I mean, they're good, but I mean, I wouldn't get carried away with Benrahma just yet. I mean, his stats weren't amazing. I think he was probably, I would say he's probably quite lucky to get a double-digit haul. Even though he is admittedly great value at 6 million. So I would not be in a rush to sell Rafinha for Benrahma or anybody at this point. I think Leeds' next few fixtures are great. They've got Everton and Burnley.
Yeah.
But these are going to attack every game they play. So, yeah. So I mean, if you're a Rafinha owner, I wouldn't panic.
It was your team reveal on the hub when we spoke about, and your love for Rafinha, your affection for him definitely shone through. I think, I think you use words as such as absolutely, locked in, bargain, just leave him there, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And as you say, he can score against anyone. The way Leeds play, he's always there, but he missed that massive chance, right? If he'd have scored that, it's a different game.
Yeah.
I just think like this week, most template-ish teams had 9 players which scored, 8 or 9 players which scored points, and he just so happens to be the one with a 2-pointer. Why people are looking at. No, I do agree. Just to catch up a little bit in the chat, Abby says, do you think it's a knee-jerk reaction to move out Barnes and Rafinha? So exactly what we're talking about. I think definitely on Rafinha, probably on Barnes as well, because Leicester's fixtures, they've got West Ham, okay, maybe not the best one, and then they've got Norwich and Man City after that. I purposely, you don't choose a player for one game week, right? You choose them for a run of games, and the last thing you want to do, it's for your own sanity, right, is take out Harvey Barnes and then him get the goal and assist that he should have got this week. So Beat says, do I really need to bring in DCL, Son or Lukaku? I just think, if your team is reasonably template, don't see the need to, you don't have to bring in anyone, right? Son's obviously a really good one to get in. Carver Lewin's fixtures for Everton, Leeds, Brighton, Burnley, Villa, and Norwich next. Absolutely fantastic. What are your thoughts on Carver Lewin? He was in my draft all pre-season. I took him out kind of towards the end. How about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I mean, as soon as news of his injury, or possible to injury, he was out of the team. But yeah, I love Carver Lewin as a player. I just love the fact he's nailed. He plays up top, and he's like the target man. Everyone just tries to get the balls into him. So he's always going to be in and about the points. I think he's definitely the best kind of FPL asset for Everton. But yeah, he's probably one that I won't get now because I'm fairly happy with my front line. I've got Ings, Tony, and Antonio. So I guess if I had to make way for one, it would be Ings. But at the moment, I think I've kind of made my bed with my strikers. But yeah, he's a great option.
Don't want to be taking Ings out ahead of Newcastle and Brentford at home either, do this? This is the thing. As you say, you're absolutely right. You made your decisions, at the start, and you got to run with it, right? Because one game, even though we are looking at one game week stats just as kind of of talking points, I suppose you can't really gather much information really from one game. It just kind of indicates things, don't it? Yeah. Mbeumo, 5.5 million. Not really stats wise, didn't perform stats wise, but on the eye test, I thought he was absolutely superb. And for his price point at 5.5 million, if you do decide maybe to go up to Son as an example, you're going to need a couple of make weights, right? And he could be a really good one. He had the one-on-one, which he kind of bluffed a little bit. I thought it looked to me as if Tony was kind of playing in more of a number 10 role at times, looking for flick-ons and balls through for Mbeumo to actually be the main man up front. So that was a really interesting one. What were your thoughts on on him and Brentford?
Yeah, I looked at the heat map for that game, and Mbeumo was, by far the most advanced player. Yeah. Even ahead of Tony. So, yeah, he is an interesting one actually. I think, again, as you say, one game is a bit of a small size to go off, but I think in the next few games, if it's looking like he's playing the most advanced, then he's a great option there. And you're right. I did have a look at. The 2 chances he had, seemed really close. There's one where he kind of made himself and took on a few players and kind of wide, and one where he kind of almost hit the upright. So yeah, he's a good option, and I think in Brentford in general, I think they seem like a really fun team actually, and I think they will score goals, but I think they're going to concede a lot as well. So I think they're going to be a bit like kind of Leeds, but maybe just not as good. But yeah, I can see that being a really fun team. I think I can see Tony doing well, and possibly Mbeumo doing it as well. So I think they're a good team in terms of they're going to attack you can have the attacking players, but at the same time you can target them as well. As a like a kind of a team to target, for your attack, for your captains, etc. So, yeah, I really like Brentford.
Cool. Okay, and Dilip Seema is asking a good question. So I've got some of the stats now on the screen. Most shots in the box this week. Vardy's there and Carver Lewin's there. We've talked about, but Emmanuel Dennis up front. I thought he really surprised me. Looked a real threat. Took his goal really, really well. I thought he looked really good. He is injured, and I did have a look earlier just to see. Well, I say he's injured. Sorry, he was brought off with an injury in the 60th minute. I can't find anywhere if he's actually kind of injured or fit. But 5.5 million, he looked. I thought he looked. Sorry, he's 5 million. I thought he looked incredibly sharp. What did you think? And Sarah as well, obviously, which you know about. Are you interested in any Watford assets at all?
Yeah, I mean, I was really impressed with Watford as well. Sarah is obviously kind of I'd say probably the top asset for them. If it was going to go for one of their options, it'd probably be him. But yeah, Dennis. I mean, obviously, I didn't consider him whatsoever.
No.
I had no clue who he was. Until I seen him score. But yeah, I mean, looking at his stats, really impressive. 5 shots in the box. Yeah, and joint top with Calvert Lewin and Vardy. So yeah, I think again, I mean, obviously, pending his injury, if he turns out to be, if he's going to put up similar stats, throughout the season, then 5 million is a steal, and yeah, it'll allow you to probably bolster your midfield a bit up as well.
I think we're a bit surprised to see him start ahead of Deeney, because Pedro, I think, was the player last year, who scored most of the goals, and he's been out. But I think, I was reading earlier that Dennis and Sarr have struck a bit of a partnership in training and stuff, and you could see it on the pitch, couldn't you? They were they're really good.
They're really well together.
Yeah. Couple of teams left. So we'll touch on Arsenal. So Arsenal had 22 shots, which is the most of the game week. The players which stuck out for me, I kept an eye on Smith Rowe because he was in a lot of my drafts. Played very, very centrally. I thought he looked good. Maybe not kind of the finished article, right? But I thought he had one really good chance where he went through the middle, didn't he? And Tierney was the other one, both on the eye test, and he does it all the time, doesn't he? The only problem is it's when he's fit. Arsenal's next couple of fixtures are absolutely horrible. Chelsea and City, you can't get any worse than those. But from game week 4 onwards, they embark on a really nice run of fixtures. Were you, are you going to be tempted, do you think, by any Arsenal players at all?
Yeah, I mean, I did kind of look at Tierney. I didn't seriously consider him for my team in game week 1, but I did look at him, and I've seen a few players who did actually have him. But yeah, he's definitely one, especially after that performance in game week 1. He's definitely in my thoughts, game week 4 onwards, because I think he had the most crosses. He had 12 crosses and the most successful crosses as well. He had 5 successful crosses, which was the most of everyone in the whole game week. So he had an amazing game. And I mean, there's a new draft game I've been playing this year, and you got I think you've got about 17 points in that, because you get points for creating chances. So yeah, he had a phenomenal game, and I think if he stays fit, he's going to get a lot of attacking returns this season.
I completely agree. Okay, let's move on then, and now then we're gonna so we've got a picture up of the Fantasy Football Hub fixture ticker, and we have sorted it by ease over the next 6 game weeks. So how it looks now, Brighton are top, so the next 6 fixtures: Watford and Everton at home, Brentford, Leicester, Palace, and Arsenal. So a really nice run for Brighton, hence why a lot of us are on Sanchez, and Abdul is on double Brighton. Wolves fixtures now, really pick up. They have Spurs and United, but the next 4 after that are really, really good. West Ham, and then Leeds United and Liverpool. Right down the bottom now, Chelsea absolutely rooted with this awful run of fixtures. Arsenal, Liverpool, Villa, Spurs, Man City, and Southampton. Southampton, now they didn't look that good on the weekend, and they've got some tough fixtures there as well. Norwich, Brentford, and Arsenal, and City themselves actually. In terms now, Abdul, of your team and your strategy and your thoughts, I suppose, from here. What are you thinking? In terms of in terms of what we know now in game week 1, what we know out now in terms of progress of maybe like Lukaku and Kane and plays like this. Have you had any change in thoughts for the direction that your team is going to take in the coming game weeks?
To be honest, I think there's a lot more up in the air than there usually is, because I mean, as you said, with the Lukaku and Kane transfers, obviously Kane's not happened yet, but I think it's looking really likely. I've not really kind of planned it. I mean, I've not even really decided whether if Kane goes to City or whether I'll get him or Lukaku. So I'm honestly at the moment I was kind of playing it by ear.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to save this week. I have 2 transfers, in game week 3, so I'll kind of take it from there. I'm usually kind of planning 4 or 5 games ahead, but I just think there's so much uncertainty. And we've even got that the international break thing kind of thrown into the mix as well. So I just think at the moment just play it by ear. And I know game week 2 I'm saving, and at the moment that's as far as I'm really thinking.
Yeah, definitely. And this is part of the reason why I picked the team I sort of picked as well. With that long kind of medium term thought in mind, and not just looking at it's very easy to attack the first 2 or 3, and and in all fairness, I think those managers that did attack the first 2 or 3 will have very likely had a fantastic game week 1. They're the ones who probably scored 115, 100, 120s, right? But obviously our hope is it'll all kind of even out. It sounds like we're both saving our transfer this week, so I think we've probably got a fair few new FPL players watching and listening. In terms of how you play the game, Abdul, could you just give us I don't know, kind of a principle or two on kind of how you play in terms of your patient approach?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say my approach would be I'm a fairly patient manager, so I mean the last 3 or 4 seasons I've kind of been a lot more patient with the transfer, so I'll wait as late as possible to make my moves. Probably once all the kind of press conferences are done, then I'll kind of look to make the moves. Kind of back early in the days, I was really kind of knee jerky and kind of make the moves, chasing the price rises. But I think once I've kind of taken a step back from that, I've really improved my game. So yeah, I mean, I'd say really patient and just trying to kind of, before making your transfer, just try and kind of absorb as much information as possible, from press conferences, from what you've seen previous weekend. I think that's really helped me over the years.
Definitely, and kind of as you said, around the unknowns and things now, right? So from game week 2 to game week 3, if this thing with Salah and all the Brazil players and Egyptian players and anyone else who's going away who are on the kind of red list, if this comes to pass, having 2 transfers in hands will be absolute gold dust, right? Because it's better, using a transfer in game week 2 if you don't need to is probably a luxury, right? Even if you have Gundogan in your team, if you have Gundogan in your team, you may actually have a pretty decent first bench, maybe someone like Aylin, for example, or maybe Veltman, who I believe is going to be back this weekend. It's probably, for me, even worth holding on to Gundogan, even if he's confirmed injured, just because you may actually need those transfers in game week 3, 4, and 5 with what we know. So this step, I've learned an awful lot of the way that Abdul plays over the years, and patience definitely pays off. Because if not, we'll be taking -4s, -8s, forced into wild cards, all this sort of stuff, which just gets you in a hell of a tangle, right?
Yeah. And I think just on your point there as well, saving a transfer, is really important. Like if you can't save a transfer, then always try and save it, because having that 2 free transfers, is very powerful.
Indeed. Just catching up in the chat a little bit. Jerome Robertson says Tierney is the only Arsenal player we should be looking at. Everyone else is awful. And Christian Miller says Brighton have the easiest fixtures. They do indeed. If you look at that, they've got a really, really nice run of fixtures. People talking about maybe Mahrez captain, a bit too risky. There's been some chat about captaincy, which I'm sure we'll take in a sec. I'm not sure City will smush Norwich by 4 or 5 goals. You don't know. City seem to be a funny team, don't they? That when they're not scoring goals, they go on a bit of a run of not scoring goals. They don't really tend to. I remember they had a run last winter where I'm sure I saw they didn't score any more than one goal for I want to say 8 or 9 games, which for them was just completely unheard of. It was absolutely bizarre, and yeah, they're a funny old team in they Man City, but we will touch on those. FPL Geordie says Chelsea could be fixture proof this season. Absolutely. I mean, they demolished Palace, right? Maybe not, so much in the scoreline, but the way they played, Palace didn't really have much of a sniff. So I do agree that putting in a Chelsea. If I was tempted to start with one actually, and I probably would have if Chilwell was fit and starting. He was the one I was looking at, but Rudiger could be a really good shout, attacking threat and all that stuff as well. Just in terms of of my observations of how the fixtures have changed and stuff, I completely agree with you, Abdul. It's just it's just a wait and see, right? And having 2 transfers in hand, my goodness, it's magic at this magic at this point. Okay, we asked for a few questions, and I've picked out 3. In terms of themes, right? The first one was from at Ray _QR from FPL Wildcats. Hi there, Ray. Great to speak with you. He says, question for FPL Salah. So he's not interested in my view on this one. Gundo seems sure to be out. Would you take him out for Ben Rama? First sub is Aliens. This is exactly what we were just talking about. So if you had Gundo and Abdul in your team and he was at risk of not playing, what would you do?
Yeah. I kind of feel sorry for the Gundo owners because all the kind of, the kind of mid-priced midfielders, he was the one to get injured. But yeah, it'd be a tough decision because again, it just depends who you've got on your bench. I think in Ray's situation, I would probably save. I think Ayling is a good shout. You can he's a good deputy. He's a good sub to have Everton at home. He scored his first goal finally. In game week 1. We're waiting for that the whole of last season, but didn't get it. But yeah, so yeah, I would play Ayling in that situation because Gundo could easily back for for Arsenal the following week. So. And yeah, and as we were talking about earlier with the saving the 2 transfers and the situation we've got, with the internationals, I think in Ray's situation, a definite save. But at the same time, I mean, I think it would really depend on who you've got coming in. I mean, for example, if you've got a elite in bench and you've maybe got somebody like a 4 million defender or Brownhill or Basuma, then I think you'd have to be maybe forcing a transfer there.
Okay, cool. And if someone was hell bent on taking Gundogan out at that kind of price point, knowing what we know now and what we've seen this weekend, who do you think would be the best kind of natural replacement moving forward?
There's so many. I mean, I'd say I don't want to say Ben Rama because I know everyone's probably thinking him, but I don't know. I mean, there's talk of Lingard going to West Ham as well, so that could kind of I don't know what that effect will have on him. But and Rafinha's obviously got that the game week 4 situation which could be a problem. But I'd probably say I'd say is Greenwood the same price as he's 0.5 more?
7.5 years, yeah.
Yeah, Greenwood 7.5 and Jota's Gundo 7. I don't know. I mean, I guess Ben Hammond will be the best shout then. Right. If Rafinha didn't have that, obviously the international situation in game week 4, then I'd honestly probably go for Rafinha. I just think he's, despite his blank in game week 1, he's going to have a great season. But yeah, I guess Ben Rama, if you look at the next 2 fixtures as well, he's and his price is probably going to rocket as well. So yeah, probably him.
Yeah, I think I'd agree from a short-term view. I would maybe be tempted potentially if I didn't have Tony. If I did have Tony, I would. But Mbeumo at the 5.5, just trying to maybe think ahead a little bit in terms of releasing some funds because as we all know, we're gonna have to find from some cash somewhere soon, to get to these bigger players, which leads us on nicely. The next question actually from Ross Johnson. Would either of you consider a Lukaku and Kane double up if Kane gets his move, and who would make way? Bruno's fixtures turn in a few weeks. Would he be the one to drop if you went with them both? And there's just a couple of points in the chat about Kevin De Bruyne as well. So, we are gonna have 5 or 6 options, right? In Salah, Bruno, De Bruyne, Kane, Lukaku, and you even chuck Son in there really at 10 million. In terms of strategy, Abdul, obviously you can't probably have any more than realistically 3 or maybe even 2 at kind of any one time. Would you look to just rotate around the fixtures potentially, or is he are your premium decisions mainly based on captaincy, or what are your thoughts on how you'll approach the next 5 or 6 game weeks in terms of the premiums?
Yeah, so just for to answer that, Fergie, people are saying in the chat that Gundo was actually 7.5, so how many do you know the same price? So yeah, so I just kind of had a mind blank there, but yeah, so I would change my answer then. I'd say Greenwood would definitely be the best replacement for Gundo. Yeah. Okay. I just for some reason thought Gundogan was 7 million.
No, go on.
Yeah, so just to kind of clear that up because everyone's saying it in the chat. But yeah, in regards to the question, yeah, I mean, I don't know how I would fit Kane and Lukaku in the team. With Salah and Bruno there, even just with with Salah, and Kane and Lukaku, that's going to be. It's going to be a big chunkier budget. So yeah, I think you're spot on there, Fergie, in terms of playing the fixtures. I mean, I think that's the way to play the premiums. When there's so many. I mean, I think we're going to be split for choice now with those two now. So yeah, just instead of trying to kind of anchor them all in your team, just play the fixtures, look for the fixture swings, and just kind of hope for the best that way.
It's difficult as well with the fixtures in it because if you're looking to rotate, I don't know. As you said, we got 5 or 6 players you'd be rotating around. It then means that you're using your fixtures on those players, which are, I suppose you could call them luxury moves. Like if you're taking out Bruno, for example, that is probably classed as a luxury move, right? But that's just a question I would ask. Then I haven't got the answer. I don't expect you to have the answer either, right? But it's how do we iteratively improve our team around the edges as well, then, right? Because if we're using every other transfer, just for example, to rotate a premium, it's going to be really tough. But I think that's what FPL for me is all about, right? Is you kind of live and die by the decisions you make, then, don't you? And I'm tempted to try and get in 3. I got to be honest. It may mean that I have to have very very poor bench and maybe even a play-in 4.5, midfielder or defender at any point. But I think I'd prefer potentially to do that rather than having to spend my transfers every week changing Bruno to Kane to Salah and whatever else. I could imagine that being very frustrating, both in terms of transfer usage. You're going to miss hauls as well, right? And that's gonna hurt. But obviously, we'll play it by ear, right? And finally, we touched on this already. This was off David George. This was off a DM I had actually, and he says, "Can you talk on the show tonight about the potential chaos caused by the international break and the fact that some players may miss game weeks 4 and 5?" So we kind of touched on this, and I suppose our answer at the moment is while we don't know, we're just going to wait. Right? I think that the only thing that we can take out of it in game week 2 is if you were considering making a transfer or not. I would say not. I think that this news definitely personally sways me. If I was having an hour and about should I make it or not, this should make you think absolutely not, because it means that potentially in game week 3 or in game week 4 you could make 3 transfers for a -4 and transfer your team, right? That'd be the kind of immediate sort of takeaway there. Anything more to add on that at all, Abdul? In terms of that news, or just a wait and see?
Yeah, I think it's spot on there. The only thing we can really do is try and save a transfer if we can. It's just one setting of which players are going to go and whether they're going to go or not. So yeah.
Cool. Okay. So next, then we're going to look at captaincy for game week 2, which is really interesting this week. It's probably a lot more interesting than it seemed a week ago, because I think we were all pretty stuck on Salah at home to Burnley right before Bruno went and smashed in that incredible hat-trick. I know you did a captaincy video in detail earlier on this afternoon, didn't you, Abdul, or this morning or yesterday, wasn't it? Which is coming, which has gone out this afternoon. So if anyone is interested in Abdul's more detailed thoughts on that, it is the last video on this channel. So please go and watch that. We put out a poll on Fantasy Football Hub, so at FFH_HQ. If you don't follow, make sure you do. And the poll came in with Salah at 62% of the vote, Bruno at 23%, Mahrez home to Norwich at 9.6%, and Ings at just 4%. Ings is quite low than I thought, personally. What are your thoughts, Abdul, on those options, and where are you currently swaying?
I mean, yeah, I think for me, the first 2 game weeks for captaincy were pretty straightforward. You know, it was always going to be Salah for the 2, but I mean, I guess, you know, Bruno's hat-trick in game week 1 is kind of, you know, slightly throwing the cat amongst pigeons. I guess a lot more people will be captaining Bruno than they would have, you know, pre-game week 1. So, yeah, I mean, for me, it's a fairly, you know, straightforward choice, even with Bruno's good fixture against Southampton, just because, you know, Salah, and it's a home fixture as well. So yeah, I'm firmly on Salah at the moment, with Bruno as my vice.
No, I'm the same. I think it's so hard to get away from, both in terms of, you know, in terms of ownership, in terms of, you know, his effective ownership is, you know, is likely again to be really, really high. It was 188%, I think, amongst.
Yeah,
I can't remember if it was amongst all managers or amongst, you know, a population of managers. 188%. I can imagine it being 140, 150 this week, I would guess. Maybe a few, maybe swayed by Bruno's hat trick, but it's going to be massive. And for me, it's probably one of those. You know, I'm a big advocate of choose your battles, and this is another one. I just think if you go against him, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think the upside outweighs the downside, personally, on this one. Just in terms of the other ones, Mahrez home to Norwich. Do you think Mahrez plays against Norwich, Abdul?
Yeah, no, I think he does. I kind of mentioned this in the video earlier. I think with Foden injured and Gundogan looking like he's injured as well, I think he's good for a start. And then KDB isn't really up to kind of full fitness yet either. So yeah, I think he's very likely to start this one again. But it's just, I mean, I guess if Salah and Bruno's fixtures, you know, weren't so good this week, you know, he'd be right up there. You know, as one of the, you know, probably top 2 options. But yeah, he's a good one to have. I mean, I think he's one of those where, you know, if you've got him, then it's you know, keep him, you know, and play him. But you know, not probably wouldn't be one of those where you'd be kind of looking to bring in with the free transfer at the same time though.
He missed a big chance against Spurs, didn't he? He was in the middle of the goal, 8 yards out, and smashed it wide. If that had gone in, it may be a different story. It's all I find with these sorts of things. It's if something had happened slightly different, then the whole narrative about everything kind of changes for the following week, doesn't it? If he'd have banged that in the top corner, I think it would have been a lot more kind of, you know, Mahrez led, but the fact he got in that position should give owners hope, you know. Yeah. And I'm sure he'll do well against Norwich, personally.
It's fine lines, isn't it?
It is indeed. And the final one I put on there was Ings. So Newcastle, you know, had the worst XGC, 3.8. Ings was pretty, you know, anonymous, right? But I'm pretty sure that Dean Smith will be giving his team quite a tough boot up the backside this week. So I do expect Villa to come good. Do you think, you know, for those who are looking to go a bit different, that, you know, Ings is a good shout, or is there anyone else, you know, maybe who would have a shout for someone who, you know, who's looking to be a bit different?
Yeah, I think if you're kind of going off like, you know, a really maverick choice, I think Ings is right up there because, as you said, not only did Newcastle have the worst XGC, they had, you know, the most big chances conceded, and it was like twice as many as a team, you know, in 19th. So, and also, you know, he's probably going to be on penalties. I think, you know, if El Ghazi isn't there, El Ghazi seems to get kind of subbed off a lot as well. Yeah. So, you know, if they get a penalty kind of late on in the game, you know, when El Ghazi's not on the pitch, then, you know, he'll take it as well. And he's also actually top. You know, he's actually first for most expected points according to the points prediction tool on Hub as well. So, you know, from the strikers, yeah, he's definitely worth a shout.
we've got actually just talking about that. We have that up now. So the predicted best Game Week 2 captain on fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. You can access these yourself. 7-day free trial. If you go on to fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, points predictions for every week, for groups of weeks, absolutely amazing tool. We all use them all the time. Salah is predicted to score the most points this week, then De Bruyne, then Mahrez, then Mane, then Bruno. Mane, interestingly, we haven't mentioned Mane at all. He's probably, I was bigging him up last week because I was expecting a bit more maybe. What did you think of Mane? Was he kind of as you expected, or were you a bit disappointed with him?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think I mean, it's just the one game, but yeah, I don't think he played particularly well. No. I think he did get in a few positions where I mean, he was, especially when the ball was being crossed in, he was on the end of a few crosses and that. But yeah, I mean, I think Mane will do well this season. I don't think he's going to have as bad a season as last season. Yeah. I think that was a one-off, and I think he'll be more in line with the previous season, where he was kind of hitting 15 plus goals. So yeah, but the thing with him though, just with his pricing, just being 0.5 cheaper than Salah, I think it kind of it takes him off the table, really, doesn't it?
It does. Agree. Yeah. Just catch up with a couple of questions in the chat. Aero Sponsible says, who to start, Benrahma or Rafinha? Wow, you've got a good team. You've got a good squad if you're choosing who to start between. Would you pick there, Abdul? Blimey.
Oh, yeah,
I'll chuck that one over to you.
Cheers. You know what? I think it's that Rafinha, honestly, because I think they have a better fixture this week.
I agree. I mean,
it's close. It's really close. But
I do wonder who you're starting ahead of them, in all honesty. But I think I'd probably have a look somewhere else, maybe for a bench in there. Okay. Next then. So Abdul, I've got your Game Week 2 team on screen. Do you want to just talk us through it and give us the exciting, extravagant news of what your move is this week?
Yeah, I think it's
as exciting as mine. Don't worry.
Yeah. I mean, as you can see, I'm well set. So yeah, barring anything major happening, some sort of kind of freak training ground injury, I'll be saving this week. Okay,
so could you just run through it, Abdul, just for our podcast listeners?
Yeah. So I've got Sanchez in goal. I've got Alexander-Arnold, Shaw, and Dunk. My three defenders: Bruno, who's my vice, and I've got Salah, who's wearing the captain's armband. I've got Jota, Rafinha, and then I've got up front Ings, Tony, and Antonio. And then my bench is White, Bissouma, and Hover. Okay,
cool. A couple of questions we've just had. Would you? Aaron asks, would you start Mbeumo or Benrahma? Bit of a different one there for you, Abdul.
Yeah, no, I think I'd definitely start Benrahma in that situation.
Okay, and CFC Riper, keep or sell Jota? I know your answer to this one.
Yeah, I think he's a definite keep. I think he's one of those. He's a definite keep, but he's not a buy either.
Yeah, I agree. We've gone through, so those asking about Gundogan replacements, Harry, we went through them earlier. One last one before we move on. Andrej asks, replacement for Alonso. Firstly, congratulations on putting Alonso in. I mentioned it last week as kind of a very, very kind of 1 week punt. Obviously paid off, very, very well. If you had 6 million, I think he is 6 million. If you had Alonso, Abdul, who would you be looking to move him on to in Game Week 2 from the defence? Who's forward?
Alonso, 6 million.
I think he might be. He's definitely 5.
He's 5.5.
5.5. Apologies.
Yeah, he's 5.5. I think he. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of options in the 5.5 and 5 million range. So I'd be looking at somebody. I mean, obviously, if we didn't have them, like somebody like Shaw, Dunk, Kufal, maybe in Cresswell actually.
Yeah.
There's so many options there that you can pick and replace them with. So yeah, one of those guys, and obviously congratulations on picking up for Game Week 1.
Awesome move. There was We did a team reveal video last week with FPL Chunks, who won our 5,000 free mini league. And I don't know if you saw it, Abdul. You've seen it.
I did,
My goodness, he captained 4 Niles in Game Week 38, which was incredible in itself. But he also put up Alonso. It was the first time I kind of seen it as an option. I was like, oh my goodness, you should captain him. He's like, oh, I'm not sure. That would have been amazing. Fantastic. Okay, moving on to my team then. I just had a 10 pence fine. Every time Abdul that one of us talks away from them, I've started fining Adam now for charity. So every time Adam talks away from the mic like this, he has to pay 10 pence. Apparently I just did it. Someone just called me out, so I owe 10 pence to charity. Looking at my team moving forward, then again, I'm pretty much the same as Abdul. Really, really happy moving forward. Sanchez, Trent, sure. I've got Simicast, so I went the Simicast way. Rafinha, Greenwood, Bruno and Salah, Tony Ings, Anto. It's a very, very similar team. I think the only differences there are Dunk and Jota to my Simicast and Greenwood. Yeah. I do have Aylin and Soufal on the bench, and this was part of my reasoning with Simicast. So if Robertson is back this game week, for game week 2, which it looks like he may, if not, if he's back in full training, you'd guess he's back, for game week 3. But I'll start Simicast, and if he doesn't play, it's okay. I'll get Aylin or Soufal off the bench, and he moves down to my 4 million 5th defender, which I'm perfectly happy with. Which is why I went with Aylin and Soufal. So I'm perfectly happy to play Aylin this week if Simicast doesn't play. Captaincy on Salah, save transfer. So I think if anyone is looking for any advice, just anything to take away from this podcast, I think if you've got reasonably around the template, so there's probably about 20 to 25 players which roughly make up the template. If you've got it and you can save, I think it's fair to say, Abdul, our advice is save. Right, you're going to need them in future game weeks. So nothing very exciting this week, sadly. In terms of maverick moves or anything. But when you're circa 100 points game week and you've got a good team, sitting on your hands is the way to play. Way to play FPL, isn't it? That's right.
Yeah, I really like your team actually, Fergi. I think you've played it really well with Simicast, and then you got Greenwood. I think that was one of my decisions pre-game week 1 as well. If I was going to go for Simicast, then it would have been Greenwood. And I think kind of in hindsight, I think you probably made. I think that was probably the right decision to go for, because you've got Ayling and Kufal, a really strong bench there as well. Yeah, kind of a bit envious of it, to be honest.
I think the only reason I went that way was purely because of that whole. I think I've lucked out a bit with Greenwood. Well, I had him in my team, but I've kind of lucked out a little bit. I chose Greenwood over Jota because of the minutes, which kind of bore out, and I personally think that the Greenwood again will get far more minutes this week than Jota, maybe even the week after. But the Simicast down to the fifth defender was the thing for me, which was my real kind of looking forward. So no, I appreciate that, Abdul. As I say, I've learned a hell of a lot of how to play this game off you over the years. So you can take some credit for this. I can tell you that.
Take it.
Indeed. Okay, competition time for our YouTube watchers. So firstly, last week's winner, who correctly picked out the highest scorer to be Bruno Fernandes. We did have a lot of correct entries, as you can imagine, but the random winner was Susel Priyadarshana. So Susel, many congratulations. Drop me a DM to claim. I haven't brought my mug up with me to claim your Fancy Football Hub mug. Well played. And for this week's competition, for a chance to win one of our fantastic hub mugs, absolutely brilliant. You first need to like the stream. So if you're live now, please like the stream. If you're on a video, please make sure you are subscribed, and then comment on who you think will be the top FPL point scorer in game week 2. So Abdul, with this, what we try and like to do is go for someone maybe a little bit different rather than Salah or Bruno, for example. Who would be your left field pick to have a really good game week 2? Sorry to put you on the spot.
yeah. I've got a fixture screen in front of me here now. I'm going to say Buendia.
Good shout. I like that. I think I'm going to take a bit of a punt, and I'm going to say that I don't think that Ferran Torres is going to start. So I'm going to go for Gabriel Jesus at home to Norwich. I think Torres didn't look the best in the Community Shield. I don't think he looked too good against Spurs. So I think Jesus may get a chance and against Norwich. He's my... I don't know. If you're looking for a 1 week punt, I think you do worse than go for Jesus. Surely Pep is going to give him a good spanking as well this week after.
I like that. I like it.
Performances. Please enter your team now into the comments. Make sure you like and make sure you subscribe. Otherwise, you will not be eligible. And finally, let's go. Let's have a look at after week 1 at the standings of the @FFH_Green Arrow mini league. And in joint 10th place, we have Decky Dunn and Rockstar Jazz. In joint 7th, we've got Ollie Lewis and Rob Shakeshaft. In 6th, Richard Tyler Evans. In 4th, Steve Stedman. In 4th, Tommy Sims. And then we have 3 in joint 1st, all on 129 points. What a game week these 3 guys have had. Joe Widowson, Vincent Rayner, and Michael Hammond. Very, very well played, sirs. What a start you've had. I bet you're absolutely smashing your mini league. Make sure you join our FPL podcast mini league. There will be a Fantasy Football Hub goodie bag prize and free premium membership for first place. The mini league code is QDASZ2, or our YouTube watchers can join using the AutoJoy link below in the description. I'm also now this second just popping it in the chat as well, so it's there if you want to copy that. Make sure you join. Really well worth it. Great prizes on offer. So Abdul, that is it from us for this week. Thank you so much. Love talking with you about anything all the time. You got the I can't look at your beard, Abdul. Every time I have you on these videos, it's just you've just got the best beard in FPL. It's absolutely amazing. And you know your insight, your FPL knowledge is almost as good as your beard. But thank you so much for coming on. Where can people get hold of you?
Thanks. I appreciate that, especially the beard comment. Very flat. But I mean, if you can find me on FPL Salah on Twitter or FPL Salah on Instagram. Been a lot more active on Instagram this season as well. So if you want to chat or come into that, that's where you can find me. And
Abdul writes about a quarter of all the content as well on fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. So if you want more of Abdul's insights, make sure you go there. My Twitter handle is @FFH_Fergi, so make sure you drop us both a follow. This podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel, with the podcast versions available on all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watch, please press the like button and remember to subscribe to the channel in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast and leave a comment. It would be much appreciated. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, drop us 5 stars and drop us a comment. It would be really good if you could. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok are @FFH_HQ, and our podcast Twitter handle is @FFH_Green Arrow. Make sure you drop us a follow. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you'll find everything you need for Fantasy Premier League and Fantasy Football all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, Opta stats, top player team reveals, including Abdul's every single week, pre-deadline, points predictions tools, rate my teams tools, and everything you could ever want, much more. Make sure you join the hub. Tens of thousands of other fantasy managers do. Make sure you do. Click the top link in the description. You will not regret it. We'll be back next week with a likely tanned Adam. Hopefully, he's away on a cruise on the south coast. Abdul on a Disney cruise with his kids or something. So hoping he's enjoying himself there. Looking ahead to game week 3. Stay safe and may all your arrows be green. Good night all.